At the end of the challenge, there is such a garbled bungle of emotions. How do you make sure that this gets logged into the educational database at the end of your challenge? That's what we're going to talk about today. If I can get my lips to work. Good morning. Welcome to Ascension Studios. I am Ann Morrison, and this is Morning Meditation. So, it has been a tumultuous time, and many challenges have presented themselves. With them come a wonderful education. My scenario recently was that the girls were living in an RV on my property, next to my house. And then it turns out that we got written up for it because it's called urban camping and it's not allowed on private property. Which seems a little ridiculous in like 100 different forms, but it is the rules. So we had to clean out the RV and have them move into the house where we work. And then we went and got a shed. We figured, make our own little tiny house solution, and they can come inside for water and bathroom, what have you. But it would be detached enough that she would have her sovereignty, and we would be able to work and set boundaries. Well, the shed is beautiful. It got delivered, and instead of putting it into the spot where it was supposed to be, he considered it too difficult. And back and forth, we were told it could be done, it wasn't done, blah, blah, blah. It got dumped in the driveway. So here we have this wonderful shed dumped in the driveway. It is right outside the window I'm looking through right now with the phone in front of it. And all I can see is side of a house board. And we had to find somebody who would move it and get it into place, or we had to find a place that could give Bill a big enough forklift that he could move it and gently get it into place. But he'd overdone himself already on working out in the hot sun, getting everything level and the old shed taken down, and everything moved right and left to and fro. We finally found a company that wasn't, well, we can't do that because of this, and we can't do that because it's 2 weeks out. And, working with businesses has become a lot more challenging. They're much more concerned about what they get away with on a contract than what they actually provide to a customer. And you know this. We're all seeing this, which is probably why businesses like our janitorial service do so well, is because we care about the result. Anyway, so we found a crane company that's going to come in and they're going to lift it and they're going to put it in place today. Now, there's a whole bunch of emotions. There's anger, there's being screwed over, there's the week of having to sit with it in front of, the window to where I work, and there's having to rebalance in the back, and it's been a lot, and it's been up and down. And I know you've had a situation like this recently yourself, because it is simply a time for challenges. And this is a good thing. It helps in societal transitions. And if anybody thinks right now that our society doesn't need a transition into a better way of operating, then maybe you're not paying attention. I think we all need a bit of a transition into a better way of operating. And I know I do. So I'm going to speak for me and say I need it. At the end of all of that, with all of these emotions running around, I could, and there's a few times I did, just get angry. bang things around and curse to my heart's content and get snide and feel nasty and talk about, oh, I can go on and I can tell people how terrible they are and da 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 da. You know, all that does is put anger into the world to manifest back to me that anger. And if somebody asks, I'm not going to lie to them. But I'm not going to spend extra time on making sure that they get their comeuppance either. So, the day the shed's going to be put into place and we can actually start things like floor and insulation and a stairway to the second level is today. And it's so nice. The anticipation of it coming in a few hours and knowing that we can continue on with the steps that got put back a week and expensively behind. I want to make sure that I am gathering the lesson I'm supposed to learn about this. And so in talking about it with Bill, we had to find, and it's hard when you're angry, it's so hard to find what it is you're supposed to learn in this situation. And we were both pretty darn angry. But the truth is, we are looking at putting together a retreat center and hoping for the massive percentage of it to be done ground up. Now, if we can lose our biscuits over a week-long delay for shed placement, then perhaps we are looking at putting together an entire retreat center in a way that is a little unrealistic and not taking into account the attitudes of today's age, the way the business is done, the impersonalization of everything. So we needed to step back and say, okay, this is a retreat construction obstacle. And as it being just business and not something that has many emotional ups and downs and is in the middle of your life right now. As something that is just business, this is an obstacle. We found a way to get through it, Bill did, and we made sure and confirmed that it was going to be happening, and now we can see ourselves past our first obstacle in putting together a situation that helps us put together a retreat. And the obstacle is based upon something we're going to be dealing with when we do a retreat center from the ground up. It's not that we have never been around construction. Bill did a lot of work with decorators and putting things together and building things and what have you. It's a different place than it was when we did that. And it's good to recognize the truth and the reality of the matter. Whether or not you want it to be a different way doesn't matter. What matters is that the truth is that it is this way. And we needed to learn, okay, you have to deal with things in a different way when this is the atmosphere that you're in. Just like trying to work with my daughter and her 3 children here. It is something where you have to figure out how to work within the parameters of what you have. They're important. They're not going to have to go anywhere. So they're important. Their place, her sovereignty, all of that's important. Me being able to work is also important, and us being able to go forward within the current climate. What is it that one philosopher said? The unreasonable man expects the world to change to suit him, and the reasonable man expects to change with the world. So, in going forward in the world, This was a good lesson, and it was a good eye-opener as to what's to come. And it's time to be grateful for it. And the emotions are still running hot in multiple different areas. But taking the time, and I think it took us half an hour to an hour worth of conversation, to find out how in the world this could be important is necessary. We can change the world one action at a time over a long period of time. But we cannot take action in a world that we do not accept is operating the way it's operating. Truth is important. Whether it is a truth that you like or not, it's important. If I'm going to do things with construction and putting together a retreat center, this is a really good test subject. And I'm grateful for the lesson. And the other emotions are still swimming about. I'm still a little angry. I'm still put out. I'm still frustrated. I still feel demeaned and belittled and treated like I was not an important customer and all that other stuff. And I still feel put out for the extra week that it's going to take. And I'm missing sunshine out my window instead of this wall. And all of those can exist at the same time. And they are. I'm not going to fight them, and I'm not going to say they're not there, and I'm not going to say they're not true, or they're not valid, or they're not reasonable, or they're not understandable. What I'm going to do is understand how all of this unreasonable, understandable, demeaning crap is meant to help me educationally go forward on my path. And it is that I take time to be grateful for. I'm going to let the emotions run their course. I'm not going to hide them, bury them. I'm not going to make them sound stupid. They're real. It's okay. We all have the emotions. You don't need to hide from your emotions. You hide from outbursts when you're in public or places where it is inappropriate. You follow your company's culture. But you don't have to hide from actually having the emotion. There is a polite way to say, I am really unhappy about this result. So, don't hide it. Don't pretend it's not there. Don't invalidate yourself and your emotions. But do spend time figuring out how they are on your path. And then we're going to pop in for some gratitude. Okay. I'm going to start off. Sacral. This is urges and desires, and it is as well what we keep and what we throw away. We're going to experience everything, but we don't have to keep everything. So we're going to spend our time on the gratitude of that which we want to keep, which is the underlying lesson at the back of the adversity that got us to this point. And yes, it's this afternoon, but I know absolutely, without a doubt, that the shed will be moved. And if it's not, I'll have another video tomorrow. Probably about the shed. But here we decide what to keep and what not to keep. And as soon as I decide that one of my emotions is invalid, I keep it. I process and I go through each one as it's happening, and I give it credence and I give it kudos. I was angry. Yep. I had a situation to be angry in, and the thing is, when something happens over and over and over again, you don't get angrier and angrier and angrier. You get desensitized to it. And I'm going to need that desensitizing going forward. So this was actually very beneficial educationally to my psyche, to my patterns. And I'm going to keep this experience in the damn I learned something file. And the other ones I'm going to experience, I'm going to express, and as they dissipate, I'm not going to mourn them. All right, so starting off, feel the fact that you have a choice. You can decide what to keep and what not to keep. You can decide what urges you act upon and which ones you don't. Right here reminds us who's really in charge of what's going on. Our emotional response affects our physicality. So, if we are armored toward further emotional response that might be negative, that's a good thing. If we have learned something about how to take care of these sort of problems, that's a good thing. If we have a buyer beware, caveat emptor experience, then we learned some things. And these are good things, and I'm going to keep these lessons. And I'm going to feel the emotions and let them pass. Move it down, connect to the earth. Bare feet on the ground if you can. Feel the solidity. Feel all the other solid, moving and immovable pieces of life on this earth. Recognize your connection to them. And bring it up. Feel each of your different chakra areas full and harmonizing wonderfully together. Connect to universal wisdom, unconditional love, and the next step. And the wisdom that it takes to figure out what it is I'm supposed to keep of this and what it is I just feel and let go. When the time is done and I'm done feeling it, not before. And bring it down. Come into the mind palace. Calm the tornado. I want to make decisions today on how we're going forward based upon truth, knowledge, and experience, not based upon the emotional reaction I have to certain things. I want to make decisions based upon truth, knowledge, and experience. I have decided that this part is going to go wonderful. I am grateful for learning the truth of business in the world of construction at the moment. I am grateful for the experience of learning how to get things done within the truth. I am capable and competent, and I validate that every emotion I had was a necessary emotion. I have every intention of feeling every emotion until I need not feel them anymore. Stay in the calm for just a moment and let things in your mind become peaceful. Find a landscape that you find particularly soothing. I like streams and waterfalls, lakes and rivers, ocean. Picture yourself there. Hear the sounds. Feel the breeze. Breathe and smell the air. Back up to crown chakra. Allow the download. Feel. Bring it down to the earth. Connect. And then come back into ourselves and our life and our management of ourselves. Because it is all you, your choice. Namaste.